I grew up on a dairy farm, first in the Waikato and then Bay of Plenty, and so I understood dairy farming and cows and the stresses that farmers have.
We pitched the idea back in our fourth year of engineering, back in 2018, and saw the opportunity behind a system that can help you scalably understand how your crop is performing.
It's kind of the perfect storm. Electricity costs going up, they're rural communities on the fringes, so the most expensive portion of the market, yet with no real product and service being put into the market that suited them.
I wasn't destined to be a farmer, so I went off to uni, did medical engineering, and then lived overseas in London for 4 years, developing diagnostic devices. When I came back home after COVID, I wanted to create a business, and I just looked at the two things that I knew about. So that's dairy farming and finding disease.
We were trying to round peg, square hole type thing with what works in the city will work in the country, and it actually doesn't.
Grounding it in trust and human relationships is still the key part. Without that, you need the efficiency gains that come from AI tooling, but you still need those really solid, trusted relationships to make it work properly.
Being profitable is probably the biggest challenge. Oakley's is a fifth generation business. I was introduced to vegetable growing at a very young age, and it's just what our family always did. I think most businesses in our industry supplying fresh market produce probably had a couple of very good years through COVID. Leading up to those 2 years, I was actually really nervous because I could see all our costs going up. Fertiliser costs were going through the roof, seed costs were going up, labour costs were getting pushed up. Everything was going up. It doesn't take a big difference in supply in our industry to make a significant difference in price. The underlying thing is, generally speaking, prices are leveraged down at grower level. They don't need to be up by much to make a big difference in the profitability of the business. So if you're paying, if the grower's getting a dollar for a head of broccoli, they're probably losing a bit of money, and that broccoli's probably retailing for, say, $1.99, $2.49, something like that. Another 10 or 15 cents, boom, suddenly you're in the game.
So mastitis is the inflammation of the cow's udder, and it normally comes from an infection, which can cause swelling, redness, pain, and even death. So it's a very horrible disease for the animals, firstly, but has massive financial impacts, about 20 billion worth of losses globally. So my name is Liam Kamshoff. I'm the founder and CEO of Bovonic. Bovonic is looking to create technology which improves the profits, health, and impacts of farmers and their animals. Our product it's a hardware product where there's a control unit, which is the brains, which does the calculations to pick up if the cow has mastitis, and then some sensors which actually monitor the milk and can determine if the cow has mastitis.
The rural sector is massively under-serviced in these sorts of things, and we built a solution that's kind of bespoke for the rural sector, whether it's agriculture or horticulture. My name's Andrew Pegler, Pegs as I'm known in the industry, and I work for Blackcurrant. It's really weird. I always thought that this would be an early adopter, those guys that are kind of on the fringes of technology anyway. And farmers are really, really smart, and they're very technology based and focused, because anything that can save them time or money on farm helps the bottom line.
We are trying to replicate what a viticulturist would do. When they look at a vine and they visually are like, I can see straight away from experience, this vine has these symptoms, visual symptoms. If a human can see it, you can train a computer to see it as well.
You're showing growers how AI can help save them money or even make them money, whether you want to increase your yield or you want to manage your costs.
Cropsy provides growers with data on how to help best make vineyard management decisions. We have our hardware, 2 cameras and a processing box that sit on any vineyard vehicle. And then as they're driving along up and down rows, the cameras are taking photos, flashing away, and they feed images onto the computer that sits on board, and in real time that is analysing the images, and then growers can log in, data's there by the next morning, and then they have data on a block that was scanned or multiple blocks that were scanned the previous day.
The Hawk guys are really progressive with their thinking, and I think anyone that has irrelevant of sector, anyone that has a high energy usage profile, so cooling, heating, dairy, water pumping, irrigation, These guys are certainly aware of it now, because as the electricity costs go up, they can't keep putting prices up, so they're getting squeezed at the gate, I guess.
It's fully self-installable by the farmers themselves, so there's no need to wait for an electrician or technician to come out and install it. And then those sensors, because they have such a hard life, they tend to last a full milking season and then need replaced and serviced. So there's that upfront cost to own it, and then there's a service fee. And for that service fee, we send them a new set of sensors every year to make sure they're accurate and working and reliable all the time. I think the best comments we get is where they say, I couldn't imagine farming without this product, and we get that quite a lot. It's really, there's a few things. So there's obviously the money side of things, where we're enabling them to produce more milk of higher quality, and that obviously gets them more money in their back pocket. But we also save them a huge amount of stress and time.
If I'm being really honest, it's really hard to get to. So it's hard to get up the driveway. I think 70% of the people that we've spoken to have looked at solar and batteries or microgrids without really knowing what they were looking at, but just couldn't find that trusted place.
Rather than building a whole sales team, there's actually groups and individuals in the dairy industry who are trusted by farmers and who understand technology.
So you either find someone who's sort of a local figure that everyone knows, or they have a contracting business where they sell services. For us, it works really well because it allows us to access the small and medium-sized market through those sort of local advocates, local service providers.
And so these are dealers who typically install and service milking machines. They're local to communities, they're well known, they know all the farmers, they're trusted, they know about installing equipment. And so we've chosen to use them as a distribution model or distribution partners.
Farmlands is that trusted place. They've been there for 65 years. They are owned by the customer, they're shareholders, it's a co-op. And so when Farmlands did the joint venture with Blackcurrant, what they brought was an industry specialist into an area with a trusted environment. And so, I get to walk onto a farm or a farmers and growers environment, or into the corporate boardroom of some of these really big organizations, and there's none of that, who are you? It's Farmlands bought you. Obviously trusted place, right, let's get started.
Our customers have actually been some of the biggest advocates for selling Cropsey as well, and the wine industry is pretty small and everyone kind of knows everyone. They all catch up for beers on Fridays and stuff like that, so they all talk, and Cropsey gets mentioned quite a lot. And so some people come to us and be like, we've heard about you guys, can we have a demo? So that's been pretty cool as well.
We did a pilot in October to May, and there were 25 sites that were not only purchased but installed. And that's just under $2 million worth of hardware, and $30,000-$40,000 worth of recurring revenue margin straight away. That was a pilot. That was no marketing, no dollars spent. That was word of mouth. Hey, we're looking to do a thing. Are you interested?
I guess our business is no different to any others. There's a lot more compliance involved with business now, whether it be health and safety, environmental. For me, I think that's been a really challenged space for vegetable growers in New Zealand. I think we've been caught up in agribusiness in general. In my opinion, there have been some issues in agribusiness around water quality and nitrate leaching. And I think we've had a government previously that were in a big hurry to shift the dial. It's taken our focus a bit away from what we need to be focusing on, and that's growing and remaining profitable, sustainable with what we're doing. There is no one who's more attuned to their soils and what's going on and the needs of the crop than a grower. And they've got a very good understanding of crop rotations, what crops complement other crops either before or afterwards for maximising the use of what's in the soil and the conditions you've got around environmentally. So, that's probably my biggest concern, is that how much we've got caught up with that time-wise, resource-wise and cost-wise.
I do think Callaghan Innovation, which has just been established, maybe quite a big operation, but parts of it were really effective in supporting us through the last few years.
Other governments overseas do invest more in R&D, but from Cropsey's perspective, we've gotten a lot of help from the government. Rory, we got on a career grant from Callaghan right in the early days. Yeah, when he joined as a co-founder.
Hopefully that gets reinvigorated or reinvented in some way.
So we're raising It's actually 1 million minimum, all the way to 1.5. The goal for that is to help us reach break-even and profitability in the next 18 to 24 months. And from Cropsuite's perspective, that's hiring more technical staff so that we can support more of the global structures, vineyards, pruning styles, trailer styles.
We're just closing off another round at the moment, which is going to enable us to expand internationally. And so that international expansion will start in the UK and Ireland later on this year. We've already got a few trial farms there. And then beyond that, we'll be looking at Western Europe and the US, which are probably the next two biggest markets for us. And then obviously there's plenty of dairy producing nations all around the world that would like to get to as well. South America, China, Vietnam.
Blackcurrant's currently going through an investment round to keep up. Like, it's a growth round, right? Where we've got this opportunity, and we're a relatively small startup 18 months ago. I think there were 5, and now we've grown to 13. And you'd be amazed, in the space of a week and a half, we've kind of raised $1.5 million. And that's on the back of agri-tech.
New Zealand has world-class engineers. We have so much talent in New Zealand, and relative to the rest of the world, New Zealand's cost for engineers is relatively affordable as well. So it's actually a really cool place to start a business.
Our product can fit into every milking cup or cluster in the world. So the market is massive. There's 250 million milking cows in the world. So yeah, we're getting into the billions if we got onto every farm in the world.